And we're live with another podcast. Mike and Jeff here again. A lot to go over still with Flyer situation, so we felt to do another podcast this week. This is my third one because I did a solo one. If you want to catch that on the Mike Witmer podcast on YouTube or Mike Witmer podcast on Twitter. But that was pretty much me my reaction towards the presser of Holmgren and Scott, but we'll obviously touch on that and obviously other things today too, with the Flyers firing more coaches and just kind of the uncertainty with the team at the moment and other NHL related things that come to our head.
Yep.
But let's just kind of start it off with Flyers talk, which I'll start off with you because I kind of gave my point, which I'll come out here. But what did you think of the press conference?
I hated the press conference. I didn't even know who Dave Scott was before this, and I don't like him even more now.
Mm-hmm.
I dislike Paul Holmgren even more now.
Right.
Than I already did.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. All right, so because he talked, they both, talked about a decent amount, but at the same time, they also both kept avoiding so many questions.
Oh, yeah. They never specifically said what the
exactly. So
philosophical differences were.
Exactly. So for Holmgren,
which everyone kind of took out that it was because Homer wanted to be faster with this or whatever.
Right. And I think that's exactly
and they
what
kept
it
saying
was.
something that it didn't make sense. Like, they want to compete now. They don't want to wait 2 or 3 years. Even if you do trade for, like, a bigger piece to
You're
help
not
you,
competing
you're not
now.
competing until 2 or 3 years.
Exactly.
So what's the difference between winning with Hextall than trying to go out and get someone?
Yeah, not only that, but you don't have a goalie. Your defense has been struggling greatly.
And that's another thing we'll get into
Yes,
too
for
later,
sure.
a little later.
But here's kind of like a summary of
What they
of
said,
what's so
if you missed it.
they
if you-
are
yeah.
looking for an outside source in
Yeah.
from Philadelphia. So it won't be Dean Lombardi, who's the current assistant or one of the assistant GMs.
Yeah.
That
the
means
other assistant GM they fired. So.
yes, and we'll get into that in a little bit. That means it won't be a reunion with Chris Pryor, who
No.
looks to be an NHL GM. I think maybe depending on the team, you could argue he could be a GM.
Yeah.
I just
I would have liked to kind of see him.
I wouldn't have minded. I would
'Cause
like to
at
see
least
what
with
he
the
would
Flyers-
have done.
Because he would have given a pretty decent start. Because you have a pretty decent cap. You have good prospects.
Mhm.
And your team's pretty good at the moment. A couple pieces missing.
Yeah.
Like, Hextall would have left you on a good spot.
No matter-
if you're coming into it compared to you
No-
having to fix, like, the salary cap of your team or
Hey,
something.
that sounds so familiar.
Yeah, I know.
I wonder who did that, Homer.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And Homer, who doesn't want to be the GM, but's making more firings and everything,
Exactly.
too.
but so the firing of Hackstall, Dave Hackstall, that is.
Right.
That never, according to Scott and Holmgren,
Mm-hmm.
that conversation basically never came up.
Oh.
And here's the interesting
And it was pretty
part,
much what I said, kind of, too, of how that conversation went down. With Hextall saying, no, stay with the process.
Yeah.
And Holmgren saying, no.
No, exactly.
And pretty much
Because-
Scott put the blame on Holmgren, saying it was Holmgren's idea to fire him.
No, it really was, because Scott right away basically said it was Homer's suggestion to fire Hextall, and he supported it.
Yep.
But Holmgren also said the head slot. Here's the interesting part, and this part really pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
Holmgren said the head/assistant coach future is a decision for the next GM.
Yeah.
And yet he decides to, I'm going to make some decisions anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that
Mhm.
later. He said the current staff has done a decent job with the situation they're in.
Did not see the Ottawa game, though.
Yeah. The GM search will be weeks, not months. There are already a few front runners. We'll mention their
Right.
names in a little bit. Here's another interesting point about Carter Hart. Because, Hextall's a
It came
goalie.
out right before their press conference, like the night
It
of
did.
that. Holmgren kind of wanted him to come up now, like this season or whatever.
But here's
But
what
then
I
when he
don't
was asked it,
get.
he said, he was like, well, I was with kind of Holmgren. I think that I was with
Or
Hextall.
Hex- yeah, and I'm like, no, you weren't.
No. And you should know this because you traded away Bobrovsky.
Yep.
You had your own goaltender that you could have kept.
Yep. But here's one thing that frustrates me. Again, about Carter Hart. I'm in line with Ron's feeling on Carter Hart. He says also that later this season he might want to take a look at him in the NHL, though.
I would get that if he was kind of doing what he did in the preseason, where he's doing pretty well in the preseason, or juniors, which would be doubtful.
Right.
But his stellar, if he was still doing those numbers, I would.
Oh, like sure, why not?
I would be like,
I
okay,
mean,
I can make a case for that. But he's not playing all that well yet.
No, and that's the biggest thing is. Let's take a look at some of the factors.
And you're
this
also,
is his
if you
first.
also,
He's only 20. This is his first professional
Yeah.
year, and
he's still getting
there's still
acclimated
plenty of room to
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
And he's already touted as the most talented and most hyped up goaltending Canadian prospect in the
Right.
entire league. So there is already a lot of pressure, but
He's maybe
of all the people that get it, Hextall would get it.
Yeah.
He's a former goalie. Not only that, but he was an all-star goalie.
You're right.
And my thing is with Ron Hextall, he understands how to handle situations like this with Carter
Right.
Hart. Holmgren, he was a power forward in his
Yeah.
time. And even if he never played, he still doesn't understand that you can't rush a goaltender such as
Didn't he give
one
Brzgalov that big contract?
Yeah, he did. He did. So
And then let Bobrovsky go?
Yep.
I mean, I'm not complaining because I know that wasn't really the trade for Mason, but essentially got
it
Mason
wasn't.
back.
It wasn't Mason.
I know, but you essentially, for what you get rid of with Bobrovsky, you later got it back with Mason. That's
fair
kind of
enough.
what I'm saying.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But with that, I mean, Mason didn't do terrible when he was here.
No,
Out of the goaltenders that they've had,
I thought for the most part Mason has been the best goaltender
Yeah.
since Bobrovsky, basically.
Sure.
But
But just think of what would happen if you wanted to trade away Bobrovsky. This team would look so much better
baby.
right now.
Oh, baby. Man, I would love to see that. Let's make it happen in NHL 19.
You probably wouldn't even have to wait for that because they probably just would have him be in the free agency and you can just try to sign him.
Ironically, because I was playing my GM the other day, and I was thinking, well, realistically, the Flyers could go after him. Because my big thing is I hate making unrealistic moves in NHL for a GM.
Right.
So I thought, okay, realistically, I could see the Flyers trying to reacquire Bobrovsky. So I offered him contract, but nope, he went to Arizona.
Yeah.
But anyway, here's a very interesting quote in Holmgren's part of the press conference. He said Ron was unyielding in his plan.
He said that a couple times.
Yeah, but what does he mean by unyielding?
He didn't want to kind of, in the sense that everyone wanted him to go after the big target free agents and everything.
And he didn't.
He didn't. Pretty much kind of what you said. I don't know if that was true of him kind of being asked or maybe forced a little bit to try to sign JVR or whatever. But
right.
I think that's kind of what he meant by that, and that Hextall believed in what he was doing and didn't want to change it. He liked the prospects that were coming up and wanted them to be patient. And that's kind of how the Flyers are right now with the talent that they have.
Yeah.
His patience helps with Provorov and Konechny.
Exactly. And Gostisbehere.
The only person he ever didn't send down right away was Nolan Patrick.
Yep. Well, and he proved himself right away.
Right. Well, it took him a little longer into the season,
Right.
but yeah, essentially.
But yeah. Also,
which also helped us Couturier move to the center and Drew wing, so it could be that
Yes.
second center instead of third, which you could easily have done too.
there's so much going on. It's frustrating.
I feel like there were still a lot of unanswered questions after.
There
press
were,
conference.
because Paul Holmgren
They really only talked for 15 minutes, and then they were like,
it was
okay,
a relatively
see ya.
short press conference. But here's the thing, though. Every answer Homer gave, there's at least 2 to 3 I don't knows in that statement.
Yeah.
And that annoyed me so much. What do you mean you don't know? You're the ones making all these
You're the one that
decisions.
just fired him. You have an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I had a good question that was brought up, which I brought up on my solo podcast afterwards. Why wouldn't you make the decision when you already kind of had someone in mind?
Exactly.
Which he didn't really give a good response to that either.
No, he didn't.
I forget what his response was, but I don't think it was...
He kept BSing his way around questions. It was
because
annoying.
that would have been a better option, I guess, or better kind of outcome of this, of firing him, is that you already kind of have a person in mind of who you want to bring in.
But
I mean, that's always because what you see in Twitter now and everything was
right.
the Flyers kind of being a dumpster fire in that Hextall wasn't
Yeah.
really willing to be that person to go out for the big person or big trades or anything to really change it. I guess he could also make a case for this offseason. He didn't really make an attempt to go after Tavares or make a trade for Carlson. But he did make an offer to try to get Hoffman.
Yeah. And that's improving your team.
Mm-hmm. It didn't happen, but he made an offer.
Exactly.
And I think he did talk to Tavares, but he's like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, and again, it's not like Hextall said, "Oh,
he
Tavares
was
is
smart
going to be."
with he knew what he had to do with the salary cap,
Exactly.
going from what he already had to deal with, so he didn't want to tarnish it more,
right? And
especially
that makes
with
sense.
the people that he had to re-sign this offseason.
Exactly.
Which is
I think you could be the new GM. Is that what the job you're interviewing for?
I hope.
But so something that's interesting. So Paul Holmgren, just so everyone's on the same page here, is now in full charge of hockey ops for right now.
In the moment,
exactly.
He doesn't want to be GM, but
Yes.
he wants to be GM a little bit.
Pretty much.
And
he said he does not want to start making trades and severely altering the roster.
Even
before
though he
finds the
also
next
said
GM.
that he might make a trade for a goalie before the next. That's another thing he brought up in the pod.
Well, one of the quotes that was mentioned. Let's see here. Is that for Homer? He said, "If I can make her team better, I'd be foolish not to look at it."
Right. Which also he meant with making a trade for a goalie or something.
Yes. But so Homer said he does not want to start making trades and severely altering the roster before he finds the next GM, which I think is fair. But depending on the trade and what the trade looks like, if you have a legitimate trade that actually makes sense for this team, and it is a good trade, go for it. You know,
that's kind of what I kind of talked about him after. It was like I was kind of looking at the team and thinking who would be like logical kind of trade partner, trade people you can try to kind of deal.
Here's something to keep in mind though. Bill Meltzer kind of translated part of the interview and kind of gave his own opinion. He said, "I don't think." Homer was saying he wants to see the now restocked farm system gutted or picks galore traded again, but rather that if it takes sometimes dealing assets / prospects to make a trade for proven help, that shouldn't be an automatic no. We'll see how it plays out. And to be fair, I think that's a good point.
What I think I saw someone else kind of brought this kind of thing up too. Holmgren was looking mostly at the Flyers and not really being the contender. Hextall looked more at their juniors and what they saw and the Phantoms.
Yes.
And how they've become better.
No, that's fair.
And he thought, okay, in a couple of years, these guys will be up on the Flyers. And the Flyers, we were just in the playoffs, and even if, I don't know who you can, I don't know what their plan is if they're trying to think of it.
They don't have a plan right now.
2 to 3. They kept saying they don't want to do 2 to 3 years to contend, but what moves are you thinking that would make you that way before then?
Well, my thing
the only thing I would think is maybe if Carlson weren't to resign in San Jose and you went after him.
That would be a legitimate move.
It would be, but I don't think that would be enough to kind of
to help. No, it's not because sure you automatic because you have a number one defenseman in Provorov and everything, and a pretty basically a 1-2 punch on D with Provorov and Gostisbehere.
And look at the talent that the Maple Leafs just brought up, and they're not even the best team.
I know.
Tampa Bay is the best team in the Atlantic, in my opinion.
Well, no. On paper they are.
Yeah.
By far. Because they have goaltending, they have forwards, and they have defensemen. They're an all-round complete team. Not only that, but for their forwards, it's complete depth on what they... And I think depth and speed wins championships. Look at the 2016, 2017...
Look at Buffalo right now.
Yeah, exactly. But look at when the Penguins won back-to-back Stanley Cups. The reason why they won those cups, and not only just one or two, but back-to-back, is because of the depth trades that they made.
That and goaltending.
Exactly, goaltending, yes. But looking at Tampa Bay's lines right now, you have Yanni Gord, Steven Stamkos, Matthew Joseph. I actually don't know who that is. Yeah. But second line, Tyler Johnson, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Alex Killorn, Anthony Cirelli, JT Miller, Andre Palat, Cedric Paquette, Ryan Callahan is your fourth line. That's unbelievable. That could be.
And right now, this is their only time. I would say that's an easier time to try to beat Tampa Bay.
Yes,
because they're without Vasilevsky.
Yeah,
With
for
that-
at
that's
least 2 more weeks.
What
probably.
can you do with as the Flyers that you can say we can beat Tampa Bay? The only reason why you came back was because they didn't have Vasilevsky.
Exactly. If Vasilevsky was in net, no way.
No.
That you wouldn't. You might have gotten
even
a goal
in the past,
maybe too.
The Flyers have always struggled against Vasilevsky. I've never seen a game where they've been dominant against him or put a good amount of goals behind him.
Yeah,
He's always had good games against the Flyers.
I agree.
Because even when they had Bishop, it was always Vasilevsky who was playing the Flyers.
It was.
And, I mean, Toronto, you have a better chance of beating, but even then, that's just because you have a better. You would, on paper, have a better.
I'm sorry, just
on
cracks me up.
paper, you have better defense.
Yes, on paper. But this is also the same team that got
Just destroyed you. Yeah.
6-0. So
Without
know,
Matthews.
yeah, exactly. Without Austin Matthews. But Tampa Bay for a
And
second,
even
though,
even if you just want to put it this way, even if you were to beat those teams, how are you beating Winnipeg? How are you beating Nashville?
right now you're not.
No.
Right now it's literally Toronto's game all over again. You're
Mm-mm.
getting shut
Even
out
though
6-0.
I just realized Winnipeg's 5th in the Central
That's hard to believe.
with 28 points.
But anyway, so going back to Tampa Bay really quickly, then back to our original point.
Mm-hmm.
So Andre Palat, Cedric Paquette, Ryan Callahan. That is their fourth line. Any
Yeah.
other team that would
That's a-
easily be their second or third line right
Yeah.
there. Easily.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say about those guys.
Mhm.
But back to the press conference.
Even if you're looking at their defense, too.
Yes. But 2 very interesting things that I really want to bring up about the press conference, then we
Mhm.
can kind of
Yeah.
transition to the firings and
Yeah.
stuff. So Dave Scott said that Joel Quenneville's name came up immediately when Chicago let him go, but Hextall wanted to keep on his path. Quenneville may be an option now, but it will be up to the new GM.
Mm-hmm.
Also, after the press conference, Dave Scott opened up about Hextall's firing. The rebuild was taking too long. He said, I want to spend to the cap. I want to have the best possible team we can have. Here's the best part about that. Do you know why that's so genius? Meaning I'm being extremely sarcastic right now.
That doesn't make sense because
Think about this
you
way.
made the playoffs last year after losing 10 straight and then winning 10 straight, right?
Yeah.
This time last year, you lost 10 straight around this time.
Yeah.
You're around the same where you were then. You made the playoffs. You made the playoffs 2 out of the 4 years.
Yep.
Or 5 years, 4.5 or 4.25, or however.
Whatever
we're
you
in
want to
the
say.
season.
Yeah.
But it is work. It is. It's not as slow as you think it is.
It really isn't.
Frost was a great training camp away from possibly being the third line center.
I agree. I really agree. If he didn't struggle, he would.
Yeah.
He would have been on this team.
You
by
saw
now.
Vorobiev.
Exactly.
Nobody really knew who Vorobiev was before coming into training camp. No one
Yeah.
thought, except for you, said that
Hi.
he would have a decent chance of getting that third spot, and he
You're
did for a little bit.
welcome.
But then Wheel took it over again.
Yes. And hey, good
And-
for Wheeler.
yeah.
I love Wheel, but Misha.
Even though I think if you look at the lines yesterday, I don't know if JVR had a maintenance day or what.
he did have a
but
maintenance day.
they had
yeah.
Wheel on the second line. So.
Yeah, no, but JVR
And
had a
JVR
maintenance
and
day, according to the
Voracek on the
Flyers
third line.
analyst. But the thing that bugs me most about that quote, because if the Flyers do that and they spin right
I
to
would
the
say
cap,
that if you were kind of like Arizona, where you're kind of
that would make sense then.
because you're a little slower because they were obviously Strome or whatever, Clayton Keller. They have dunk talent there.
Well, now Strom's out.
Well,
but-
Strome out, but
yeah.
you know what I was saying. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have young talent. They thought maybe they'd be a little better now.
yeah, maybe. But
I mean, they're getting better, obviously.
honestly, I think that trade is helping them because they trade for Nick Schmaltz,
Mhm.
and he's a good young player. But the biggest
Yeah.
problem I have with the Dave Scott quote about the cap is I want to spend to the cap. If you do that, then the Flyers will be right back where they were, square one, when Paul
Mhm.
Holmgren was GM, when they had barely any cap space for Ron Hextall when he came in. And the
And,
last 4.5 years, almost 5 years now, 4 years, he's been doing his absolute best to get rid of that cap space. That way he can help build for the future.
Not only that, but
And there's some key players.
yeah, that's what I was
Contracts who
just about to
expire.
say.
Wayne Simmons is going to have a contract. Whether he's on this team
Yeah.
or not, he's getting a
He'll
contract.
probably be one of those.
Travis Konechny needs a contract.
Mhm.
Ivan Provorov.
Travis
Sanheim.
The Travises. The
Tra-
Travis.
Travis, I like it. Here's the other thing, though.
And not only that, after next year, you
You-
have Haig, you have Lindblom, you have Patrick.
And all of them are going to get at least 4-year contracts.
Sure.
At least. But no, and the biggest problem right now, besides
And obviously,
the
you lose
some
some of your goaltenders, too,
and
which
that's
isn't
what I
the
was just
biggest
going to bring
thing.
up, is although you would lose Elliott and or Neuvert, I'd rather sign Elliott over Neuvert.
Sure.
But
Well, Elliott's played better, obviously,
Sure.
and he's played
he's
longer.
technically healthier.
Yeah,
technically.
And
But-
if you look at the stats of all the Flyers
Yeah.
goalies, he does have the best numbers this season and
Right.
most likely last season,
But
too.
so that's my biggest issue with this. Oh, I want to spend to the cap. That makes no sense because
You
if you
don't-
do that,
You only have $8.5 million in cap space. I don't know what big person are you trying to get?
well,
I think
here's
there's
also
a couple of guys
here's
that are out
also
there,
something
but
that helps though. Yuri Laterra's $4.7 million contract expires at the end of the year, so
sure,
that
and
helps
seeing how they're playing
so
him this
much.
season, he's probably going to be gone.
Oh, he is going to be gone.
And after next
All
season,
right.
you lose Steele.
Taking
loses
a look
2.35.
at free agents.
That's what I was going to look up.
Oh, this is funny. They still have Rick Nash, the Sedins. Okay, they still have LeCavalier out there. That's awesome. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can fix this. All right, current age. What should we set the? All right, we'll say what 25 to 34. Is that a good age?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me at least update this so that way you don't have any retired vets.
Here's kind
like
of your.
LeCavalier. All right,
You have
Andre
Carlson, who you
no,
have.
Andre Pavlik retired.
You have these are kind of the top people that are coming up on Sports Track or whatever who have big contracts now who are free agents this upcoming season. You have Erik Karlsson, you have Tyler Myers, Jay Bouwmeester, Alexander Edler, Zdeno Chara, Mark Mathot, Nicholas Cronwell, Anton Strawman, and Jake Gardner, and then Corbin. And after that, it's not
Gardner
really
is
much.
probably one of the bigger names out there.
Sure.
But also you have you probably mentioned Bobrovsky.
Yeah, those are just the forwards. I didn't really,
Oh, forwards. Okay.
or not really, just forwards, but the.
Well, let's go. I kind of want to go position by position. So
all those
for the
positions I
top
just mentioned were defenders. So
okay, top centers. You have Joe Pavelski.
that's because I was looking at
perhaps-
defenders.
You have Matt Duchene, Joe Pavelski, William Karlsson,
Oh, yeah.
Derek Brassard,
Spezza's a free
Marcus
agent.
Johansson could be a very good
Stone,
asset
yeah.
for a team. Okay, obviously it's not happening, but Austin Matthews is Eric Stahl. What would the chances be of getting someone like Eric Stahl to Philly? I think Minnesota
know.
likes him too much.
Yeah.
His contract's only $3.5 million,
Mm-hmm.
which is
And
much.
it's just going to probably get lower because he's going to be 35.
Matthias Janmark for Dallas, Sam Bennett for Calgary, Mitch Marner.
I mean, but
Of course, some of these guys are getting re-signed,
Mm-hmm.
but still fun to take a guess.
Right.
Cedric Paquette,
But
I've always
like even
liked his
with
game.
these, like, is there a trade you're trying to think of?
No, I'm talking
Or
about
no, I'm just thinking the Flyer, the
right.
Holmgren, and everyone's kind of thinking of this. Are you thinking of free agency trying to add someone, or are you thinking a trade of?
Right.
Because
Because there's going to be a
the
lot of
only
great
person
names
I'm
out there.
seeing on this that gives that kind of maybe is a big addition is Erik Karlsson.
Yep.
Or if for some reason you got Panarin.
Yeah, I was going to say or him. Also, they oh wait, no, that's not possible. I was going to say because for some reason they
And they
have
wanna
Jeff
get-
Skinner's
They
name
want to
on
get
here.
Bobrovsky back.
That would be a big time goal. Man, I'm looking at all these names, and a lot of them are fantastic names for the Flyers. But of course, half of more like 75% of these names
But even with if
would
we
not
were,
be free agents.
Panarin has $6 million right now.
Yeah,
He's gonna want more.
oh,
He's 27. He's gonna want
he'll
more.
want $8 million.
And if that's the $8 million you're talking about, like I just said, Flyers only have $8 million in cap space.
Yep, and you don't want to spend everything on him.
Not
But
that-
but then again, the Flyers will get a couple mil back with not resign. They'll get 4.7 back with not re-signing Yuri Laterra. So let's say if they don't resign right now, That puts him at just over 13 mil in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
You won't re-sign Michael Neuvert. That's 2.5 mil, so that's 15.5.
I don't know about Folan.
Folan, he's not coming back. He's not coming back.
That's only 100,000.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
I'm gonna say probably this. One of Wheel, Ruffle, Lawton, and are probably not. One of those are probably not going to come back.
Wheel, Lawton,
Raffle.
Well,
One of those guys have.
Well, Raffle's contract doesn't expire. Oh wait, it does.
It does.
Shit. Honestly, I hate to say it, but I think Wheel's the odd man out on that one. Scott Lawns improved his game a lot.
I thought that coming into the season just because of him.
Right.
Kind of needing to take that third center spot because everything else has been.
Sure.
And he was always the odd man out for fucking healthy scratches.
He really was. But here's my other thing. Whenever the new GM comes in, and if he decides to fire Hackstall, my biggest question is whoever the new head coach will be, will he start using Wheel more?
I don't know. If it's Quinville, I'm trying to remember how he would use the Kane line and everything.
Yeah.
Because he put Kane, Taze, and Panarin together.
Yeah.
That's kind of the last time the Blackhawks were kind of great. Was those that trio, or the first line. Which I guess you can kind of say you have that with Giroux, Couturier, and Konechny in a sense.
Yeah.
I think Couturier is just as good as Taze. I don't know the upside for to Konechny yet, but it looks pretty good.
Honestly,
and Giroux
and
Kane are right around each other.
I agree
put
with
the edge on Kane or Giroux.
Right.
So he would have that option, and then you have Patrick, who would be a good second line.
Mm.
But I wonder if he would do like a Patrick, Simmons, and I guess he could do Simics, Voracek, or hopefully he would do the Voracek and JVR, which I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
Which I will say, for as well as Weiss has done this season, a lot of it I'm going to say is probably because of Patrick. Patrick has set him up a lot.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing what he's done. Also,
in that Rangers game, he set him up a lot.
He did. Also, another thing to keep in mind, Dave Scott was also disappointed that Hextall did not make a major trade at the NHL draft. I think that Scott believed that was the time to trade Simmons.
Probably. That's probably what everyone was kind of thinking. Is this where you're going to trade Simmons?
Right. Honestly, I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what's going to happen there. Because you weren't going to be able to trade him for like the top 5.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would have been interested to trade for that.
Yeah. But here's an interesting thing.
And who's to say if he didn't really try to make a trade then?
Say again?
Make a trade at the draft.
Yeah.
Who's to say he didn't try to...
Right,
Because there was a lot of times where people were saying Ron Hextall is at this table or is talking to someone.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no way knowing that he didn't at least try to make an offer or something.
I agree. I think that's where he would try to get the Mike Hoffman deal done.
Probably.
But something that's interesting, so Tony...
Which, I mean, Mike Hoffman would have been a huge asset for the Flyers.
But
too,
it would have been helpful, though,
sure,
depending on what you give up. But Tony Androkidis mentioned a couple days ago that he had been hearing in recent weeks from those closer to the situation and that Scott Gordon was apparently expected to be on the move up to the Flyers.
Mm-hmm.
But with Hextall gone and a new GM coming in, that the organization will move in a different direction. He also said, not sure that meant Gordon was expected to take over as a head coach, but perhaps as an assistant coach running the penalty kill. But it looks like we will never know. So it's interesting there. And then the other night for the Flyers Senators game.
Also, I got really excited that when he tweeted out that their head coach just left early.
Oh yeah, no,
I got excited for that.
I
And then
got
it was just
excited
that.
too.
It was just what he usually does. He just leaves practice. He's usually the first one off. Like,
yeah.
but
But
it's
there's
like something's happening.
I know.
And
Oh my
happened.
God, it's happening, you guys. But the Maple Leafs, Canucks, Wild, Islanders, Golden Knights, Capitals, Senators, and Red Wings all had scouts for the Flyers Sens game the other night.
That's another game where I would say coaching kind of didn't do anything to help the Flyers at all.
And that
if
turned
I
out
was
to
the
be
coach, because you were in control for 80% of that game, and most of those goals did come off of random shitty bounces or whatever.
Right.
But having said that, once it gets tied, or at least once it get 2 goals in such a quick time, call your timeout.
Exactly. He not once did he
No.
call timeout. And
Call your timeout, because your guys are at the moment being outplayed. And at this point, I was like, oh great, now we're just gonna get a point out of this game. Then I went, oh cool, no points.
Here's the one thing that kind of interested in me during the.
And I was thinking about this game. The next goes, I just want someone who knows how to use their timeout. Well,
right.
that's it.
Well, Laviolette did, but what happened there?
Yeah.
Here's
That's
an
Boston.
interesting quote. So basically, in case you didn't know what happened with the game, the Flyers were up 3-1, and it took all of 5 minutes and 29 seconds for the Senators to not only
erase the
2-goal deficit, and then take advantage with 2:59 remaining. And this is just an incredible goal. Matt Duchene, shot the puck.
Yeah.
It went off of the defenseman, and he not only was it
batted
out of the air, but he batted out of the air on his backhand.
Yeah.
Went top shelf, practically bar down, and for the goal, and that gave the Sens the lead for the good. But after, which was interesting, Jake Voracek said, quote, "As soon as they got that second goal, we kind of got scared. Can't do that. Every single team is going to jump on it."
Hold on.
Yeah.
You got a little scared after the second goal?
Yeah.
And your coach didn't call a timeout and didn't
Yeah.
sense that?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
He continued to say they gained the momentum, and that's what they did. It's only 1 goal. It's a 1-goal game. I still don't know what happened. I can't believe we lost that game.
I mean,
And
there
I
were
don't
a bunch of odd man rushes, 2-on-1s where the Flyers
Right.
didn't really didn't convert on whatever, passed one too many times. But they put Drew and Voracek back together. Drew and Patrick and Ghost, or oh my God, I can't
Provorov
speak.
and
Gostisbehere back
there
together.
it is.
And for some reason, it happened halfway through the first.
Yeah.
And if at that point, why not just have it at the start of the game?
I don't know. But
Because then they didn't touch the Sanheim-Gudas pair, because that's been your only decent pair this season.
right. But so I was wondering.
And McDonald came back too for that game.
Yes. I was wondering how the Ottawa game would go, win or lose.
Yeah.
Well, turns out we found out.
I was right though, in a sense that the veterans were the ones that were going to have to be the ones to take the lead on that game.
Yeah. I almost got my prediction right at first.
Yeah.
Same thing to you. It was 3-1. I was like, sweet. I was like 2 more, and my predictions were right, 1 more for yours. And then it blew up.
Yep.
But anyway, so after the game ended, the next morning, everything blew up even more.
Yeah.
As the Flyers released the following statement regarding assistant GM Chris Pryor and assistant coach Gord Murphy. The Flyers organization has relieved Chris Pryor of his duties as director of player personnel and assistant general manager. In addition, in close consultation with Flyers head coach Dave Haxtell, Gord Murphy has been relieved of his duties as assistant coach. I would like to thank Chris for his dedication to the franchise and contributions over the last 20 years. Likewise, we thank Gord Murphy for serving behind the bench for the last 5 seasons and helping grow and develop our young core of defensemen. We do not anticipate any further personal moves in the near term.
I don't believe that.
And that was a statement by Paul Holmgren. And I don't either. I think that's complete shit.
No. I'm pretty sure he said that same thing essentially the same thing after the press conference.
Oh, basically.
But Murphy, I can kind of get. And
At first, I
in the sense that he coaches the defense, and the defense has been the struggle.
Well,
but if you're going to do that, why fire the assistant general manager?
Right.
Fire the. I mean, they were actually good on the PK last night, or that night, or against Ottawa. But fire LePerriere too. He also works with the defense. He was on the PK. And for the other guy, I keep forgetting his name.
Chris Knobloch.
No, not blocked, for the GM who was fired, the assistant GM.
Oh, Chris Pryor. What?
That it don't make sense.
Oh yeah.
That one I don't get, because
I'll let you finish your thoughts, and I'll tell you mine.
Because he was one of the guys that helps bring some of these draft picks in. What did he do that needed to be fired? Like, none of our draft picks were busts. And even even with us losing Hextall, I would have been okay with him, because you still have him at the draft and helping you. I mean, I'm sure a lot of this also is coming from the scouts too, for who the Flyers go after in their drafts as well, at least who to look towards. But he has some say. He had some say in those draft picks too with Hextall. And I feel like Holmgren pretty much did that as kind of like the Eagles thing when they got rid of Chip Kelly. Instead of getting rid of every player Chip Kelly got, they were getting rid of all the people pretty much was Ron Hextall's right-hand man.
So, I'll put it this way. At first, I hated the Gord Murphy move, but then it literally took me like a couple hours, and I thought, wow, considering the fact that he did run the defense, honestly, it's probably for the best.
Sure.
So I'm thinking, okay, never mind. That move actually makes sense. But Chris Pryor, literally, just like you said, it doesn't make any sense at all. Look at, because he had a huge part in help bringing in this talent over the last few years. So, for example, I will bring up in recent history the top players who Chris Pryor has helped bring in. Starting with 2011, Sean Couturier. 2012, Scott Lawton, Anthony Stolarz, Shane Gostisbehere, Taylor Lear. You could argue Reese Wilcox as well.
Sure.
2013, Samuel Morin, Robert Haig. You also did grab Tyrell Goulburn. 2014, Travis Sanheim, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, Mark Friedman, Oscar Lindblom. 15, struck gold here. Ivan Provorov, Travis Konechny, Felix Sandstrom, Mikhail Vorobiev, David Case. 2016, German Rubasov, Pascal LeBerge, Carter Hart, Wade Allison, Carson Turinsky, Connor Bunneman.
It just sucks with the Bears.
Linus Hogberg, Tanner Lozinski. Sorry, what were we saying on that last one?
The Bears never really has had the opportunity.
No, unfortunately he hasn't.
He's been hurt
way too much. 2017, Nolan Patrick, Morgan Frost, Isaac Ratcliffe, Matthew Strome, Noah Cates. This past year, Joel Farabee, Jay O'Brien, Adam Ginning, Wyatt Wiley.
I mean, it's going to take some time to see how well those picks will turn out.
Right, but
for the most part, most of those draft picks, seeing how they are in juniors and how they are with the Flyers now and their Phantoms and everything.
But still,
those were good picks.
They're great picks.
Some of that was also on Hextall too, but he also had a say in that.
Yes. So, I don't know, but
because the Flyers went from everyone thinking, oh, they're going to get the power forward, the big guy, because the Broad Street Bullies or whatever, because the Flyers have been that since what 70s, even though they weren't, they haven't been for years. They went for talent, they went for speed. Hextall went more for like playmakers and people with good hockey sense, and that's why you see people like the players that you got.
Exactly.
But you can see Patrick set up so many good players, and Sanheim too.
Yeah, Sanheim's offensive skills has been fantastic.
Yeah. Gudis too, he scored.
Yes, I did see that. The Goody monster.
Yes, he did. That one time he actually scores from the blue line.
Woo! And not from center ice like the goal that you saw. That
was a good one.
That was awesome.
But yeah, I don't believe at all that that's the last of the firings.
And not only that, but the team has also placed Calvin Pickard on waivers.
Yes, that's another move.
And they sent down Tyrell Goulburn to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Pickard already got claimed off of waivers actually today by the Arizona Coyotes. So
Which makes sense because I think Ronto's been hurt a couple times.
he has.
Yeah.
And I thought I just saw, because I retweeted something within the last day or so. Someone just went to the IR.
Yeah, they're.
I think for
and they had
Arizona.
they had to bring an emergency backup. I think. Yeah, it was the
Darcy Kemper.
yeah him. I was gonna say the guy who played.
Yeah,
against the
him
Flyers.
has a name, Whitmer.
Yeah, Kemper.
Um,
I mean, Pickard had games where he looked terrible, but he also had games where he looked okay.
yeah.
New York, for example, was a good game. He shut him out. I didn't think he was ever going to get a shutout, but he did. But then you also have games like Columbus where he played terribly.
Yep.
But, yeah. There's just a lot to kind of, for this, and I guess we can kind of go, the kind of leading guys or whatever who have been mentioned as possible candidates for the
Yes.
GM spot.
Let me take a look. So, like we mentioned earlier, it's going to be an outside hire.
Yeah.
It's almost guaranteed. So that means no Chris Pryor, no Dean Lombardi. But the front runners, let's see here. Chuck Fletcher, who apparently is he had his interview today for the Flyers, actually.
Yeah, he was meeting with Holmgren today.
But not only that, but he has apparently a great relationship with Coach Quenneville.
Mm-hmm.
So, think about it this way. If Fletcher was the new GM in Philly, it would almost be guaranteed, I would think, that Joel Quenneville is coming to Philadelphia.
Yeah. And if I was Joel Quenneville and if he was offered, the Flyers probably give him the best opportunity to.
Oh,
out of
hell
all
yeah.
the vacancies.
Absolutely.
Other than playing with Connor McDavid. Even though that's not even open either because they got Ken Hitchcock.
Yes.
That would be the only other option. I would be like, okay, maybe Connor McDavid. But look at the talent you have in the Flyers still.
Yeah. So, Carchidi tweeted out 3 hours ago. I almost said 3 years ago. 3 years ago.
Sam Carchidi predicted this 3 years ago.
Woo! Yeah, Sam. On this day, ironic.
Yeah.
Chuck Fletcher's...
We didn't listen.
Chuck Fletcher's first move, assuming he's named Flyers GM, is to get an upgraded third center and a veteran goalie. Ask Hack, why in the world the $35 million man, not $35, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
JVR.
$35 question, man.
Yeah, exactly.
A question.
JVR is on the third line and add a veteran D. Lots of work to do. He literally hits the nail on the head right there with everything, the new GM, assuming it's Chuck Fletcher.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be him or not. Some other possibilities. Dave Nonis. He's the first candidate that Charlie O'Connor said he thinks actively would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's see here. Yeah, so Chuck Fletcher, he's currently he has a position with the Devils right now, but he used to be the GM, I believe it was for 9 years for Minnesota. He was also on the Stanley Cup team for Pittsburgh, Anaheim, and even when Florida went to the Cup Finals in 96. Thank you.
You're the rat.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I was actually going to look that up. What moves has he made any horrible
Yes, he has. The Parisi and Suter signings. All right, I get it. People are thinking, how are those bad signings? They're all right. To be fair, they're not terrible signings because of the players. They're terrible signings because of the contracts.
$7.58 million a year for Parise. Shooter $7.53.
Yep.
They have the same contract.
Also, this according to this article from NBC Sports Philly, Fletcher has not drafted an impact player still in the active roster since Matt Dumba in 2012.
Cool. But I feel like anyone. I feel like if they do fire, if they were to fire Hackstall, would the obvious first option would be Quenneville. This guy just has like the thing of knowing him, but I feel like anyone would want to like poach him as a coaching opportunity here.
Right.
Like I still think it would be a good place for Quenneville. The team you beat in the Stanley Cup. You want to help us that first year?
Ish.
We're sorry we booed you so many times.
I'm not sorry. Well, when he signed in Philly, I will be sorry officially.
The Blackhawks have a better record than the Flyers. Not really, but they have point-wise. They have one more point. They have 23 points. The Flyers have 22, but the Flyers have one more win.
Yes. Let's see here. If this loads, this is fun.
But I don't know where they go from here now. Before, like, if they were to make a move. The obvious thing that everyone wants is for Hackstall to be fired, and then LePerriere, and I guess
so LePerriere should be gone.
Knoblauch.
Hackstall will be gone. Well, because think about it this way, because typically a new GM comes in, they want their own crew,
right?
You know, and
right.
And some of these hires, you know, Knoblauch was a Hackstall hire. I'm honestly surprised that he's not gone already. Hackstall's a Hackstall hire.
He might be on the chopping box next. Let's be honest here. If the Flyers get destroyed again or outplayed by
there's
Pittsburgh,
gonna be even more
which is
coaching
most
moves.
likely going to happen, they're going to have more firings. But that was when I did see that they put Calvin Pickard on waivers. That did surprise me a bit. Because that means that, I guess, Neuver is close to coming back, and they're comfortable with Stolarz as a backup.
Right. It's just...
Which, I mean, good for Stolarz to
no,
not really playing
and
at
I
all
agree,
for the Phantoms and having this opportunity
Stolarz
now.
deserves
But
it.
I mean, once Ellie comes back, once both of them
Yeah.
come back and are healthy for a while, he's gonna go back down. Which he will make the trip. That Western Canadian trip he's gonna make. Because the uncertainty of what's gonna happen there, if goaltenders being hurt, they're gonna want to bring a third goalie. And they're probably okay with him being in the press box.
Yeah, so I'm just curious to see how this all pans out for the next few weeks.
The challenge this season would be to make the playoffs, obviously, which you're still 11 points out, no, less than that. Sorry, at least from first, you're 6 point out of third for, and then Metro, which isn't. If you start playing the way you should be playing, that's not a hard hill to climb.
No, I agree. 'Cause you have the talent to turn this team around. My only thing is it's just the coaching
it's
and obviously
now
the GM
being healthy too.
Yeah.
Well, now that they have the defenders right again, if they keep Ghost and Provorov together, that's a better option for them. Because Hagen McDonald are going to be okay with, and Sandheim Gudis, I'm good with them sticking with those two together. Because that would be your best defense you can kind of put together, I think.
Right.
That isn't like a call-up or whatever. Or having Fullen in. Which, I mean...
Yeah.
Which bad defenseman do you want in, Fullen or McDonald?
I'd rather have the human trash can in McDonald.
I know. It's a hard one to kind of go between, so...
Yes.
And you don't have Manning to make you look better either.
Man, not that all-star. I miss him.
I know.
But
Don't worry. Chicago's loving his.
Oh! Secret word is Chicago. Yeah.
You have to say it so many times, like Beetlejuice.
Damn it,
Say
wait.
Chicago 3 times.
Chicago.
Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls, Biggie Smalls.
You have to be looking in a mirror first. Come on, you know.
I was looking at you.
Oh, you suck. Oh, what the hell, man? That's a low blow. Ouch.
Or it could be a blow at me too, so I don't know.
Man. Whew, that was good. Where do we go from here?
Let's talk about Toronto. Let's talk
Actually-
about a good team.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was scrolling by my timeline and Patrick Marleau, after last night, he's officially scored against every team in the NHL now because he scored against his former team, the San Jose Sharks. And he's now the 25th player in NHL history to score at least one goal against all 31 NHL teams.
Mm-hmm. How many people can say that?
24 other people.
True. But yeah, let's talk about Toronto some more.
Yes.
Because I made a question to you about because I saw before we got on, I saw that Nylander still wants to re-sign in Toronto.
Right.
And I made the question to you was like, what should Toronto do with Nylander? Like for me, I think if you were Toronto, and you're like, because as you can see, like he might be your 5th, 6th best player. And
Yeah, because you have Tavares,
and at the moment,
Matthews, Marner,
Riley.
That's what I was thinking of. That's 4. Of course, Nylander, that's 5.
Mm-hmm.
Who else?
But
yeah, anyway.
they even showed that they could lose Matthews and still play well. They're tied for first in the Atlantic.
I'm curious to see what happens when they lose someone like Tavares.
Yeah, that's another thing about who is the more important impact player, Matthews or Tavares, when you lose them. Because if you lose Matthews or Tavares, it's pretty much the same team you had last year.
Wow.
Which is still a pretty good team.
Yeah.
But to me, if I was Toronto, because he's not the biggest concern, and your lack is kind of on the back end of your defense, right?
Mm-hmm. It really is because
I would think about possibly.
Oh, Jake Gardner's another.
Jake Gardner, yeah. I would think about possibly trading him to try to get some defense.
Yeah,
because if you can you can get a good amount back for him too. I would think.
Oh, you get a great.
Maybe a
deal
little less now because he's played a quarter of the season, so
Yeah.
his play might be a little altered.
But
still, with the talent that you could bring,
he's still worth quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because so for Toronto, looking at their cap space, they have $12.16 million.
But then you look at the players.
That's even with Tavares signed.
That's why they were able to go after Tavares.
Yeah,
but
no. So the point I think you're going to bring up is they do have some contracts going to be paying soon. So it's Austin. So this isn't until next season, though. This isn't until next season. That gives them some time. The only one they have to literally their only player they have to worry about this entire season about re-signing is Nylander.
Yeah.
Other than that,
but just been that way
next
for a while
season.
now.
Oh, and Garrett Sparks.
True.
But other than that, literally next year they have a lot of players they have to worry about. They have to worry about Josh Leivo, Austin Matthews, Par Lindholm, Mitch Marner, Kasperi Kapanen, Andreas Johnson.
Who scored a hat trick against the Flyers.
Yeah. Yes, he did. Tyler Johnson. Not Johnson, sorry. Tyler Ennis.
I mean, he's a guy that you can easily lose
Jake
to.
Gardner, Ron Hainsey, Igor. Oh, my gosh. I can't even pronounce it right now. Azahaganov. I definitely botched. I'm so sorry, Igor. And Martin
Travis
Morensen.
Vermont, yeah.
And, yeah.
And Garrett's. Yeah,
sorry. Garrett Sparks is next year, not this year. But anyway, so the point is, Matthews,
but
Marner,
also, if you want to put it this way,
Kapanen
too,
will get big
after
contracts.
this year, after next year, they lose the $5.3 million to Nathan Horton.
Oh, yeah. That is wait, no. That's in... Yes. No,
Yeah,
after
that's what I
next
was
year.
saying. After next year.
Yep.
Which would also help their cap, too, a little bit.
Wow. That would help him big time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe they still have that.
What?
Nathan Horton's
Yeah,
contract.
no.
Don't forget they're retaining
traded to
Phil
Arizona.
Kessel's salary
I know.
for
Right.
another 3 years after this season. It's only $1.2 million, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still remember those games with Bobrovsky because he was in their buyout history for another 3 years too.
Yeah, I just saw his name.
Because whenever they had Bobrovsky, it was always Bobrovsky. You
Bobrovsky
can't get
on
him
Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky. You're off the case.
Mm-hmm.
Love that quote.
Toronto's going to be good for a long time.
I know. Honestly, I'm kind of
Even
excited.
their AHL team, the Marlies, they won the Calder.
They did.
So even the people that aren't playing is still doing well, or who aren't up yet are going to be up and coming. Which, I mean, I guess that happens when your team hasn't really been that good near the bottom for a while now.
Yeah.
Which everyone was like, what were you going to do once you lost Phil Kessel? But you lost Phil Kessel and look what happened.
But, to be fair, they did get Kapanen back in that trade.
True.
And that is a big-time victory there. Because Kapanen is much younger,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to be a great player for them for years to come.
True. Yeah. So we went from one dumpster fire of the Flyers to talk about a good team. Just to make Flyers fans feel bad.
Yay, good job.
Because if you want to compete, they're a team you're going to have to go after, or Toronto, or Boston, which I think you can't beat Boston because they're just a top line.
Yep.
And McAvoy.
Right.
Even then, I think it's going to be hard, but you can beat Boston. Out of those 3 teams, that's a team I think you can possibly beat. And a Toronto Flyer series would be fun to watch, let's be honest here. Not if they get destroyed.
Yes.
But on paper, it would be a good
On
series.
paper, I think... No, because think about it, because they used to have so many great rivalry matchups back in...
I just meant for the up-and-coming teams that they are.
Well, right, but I'm just saying in general, the playoff history versus Toronto has been superb. Let's see here. So, let me see if I can find this. Okay, I don't want actual game results. I want the playoff history.
Yeah.
This doesn't help.
Right. But either way, I get what you're saying.
Yes.
They've had some good series in the past.
They really have, though.
Mm-hmm.
But another one like that.
If the Flyers can play to what their talent is supposed to be, they can easily...
I think so.
They can easily, with the talent they have, beat any team in the Metro, I think.
Yeah.
Washington's a toss-up and maybe Pittsburgh. But even then, I think you could possibly beat Pittsburgh. Washington I could also possibly see. Not in a series, but I'm just saying in a game I could see them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even in the last 3 Stanley Cups have come out of the Metropolitan.
Yep.
Still. I think... Is there anything else you want to add on the Flyers things or anything?
Pretty much it.
Yeah, I think so.
I think depending... I actually have one more thing. The Flyers don't play till Saturday.
Yep.
I think depending on how that game against the Pittsburgh Penguins go, you could see moves sooner rather than later.
Yeah. That's what I said. I wouldn't be surprised if the Flyers were to get outplayed or get destroyed. They make more firings.
I think that's going to be like the turning point even further than things have been. So, so I say look out for that.
Sure. Yeah, that's probably what I was going to say too.
Yeah. But
and then you'll see a new a difference once you go to the road trip. But I guess we'll see what happens, and anything that does happen, we'll be sure to come on and podcast some more. So give our opinions. But until then, we'll see you.